All right. Well, it is another glorious Mother's Day here in the United States, and honoring mothers everywhere, and praying for those who would want to be a mother. One of the things about holidays, all of them, in truth, is that a lot of the times our holidays remind us of the things that cause us pain. For
Mhm.
some, it might be the fact that they never could be a mother. For some, it might be that their mother is no longer with us. Or for some, it could be that their mothers were not exactly the great example of motherhood that we all admonish and discuss on Mother's Day. But we are grateful for all of them in all their different forms and all their different ways of being, because if for no other reason than the fact that they ushered us into this world and gave us life and gave us the opportunity to start on this remarkable spiritual journey, and allow the divine to unfold within us. Now, for me, though, Mother's Day has always kind of represented a spiritual component. You've met my mother, and she hasn't changed much. My memory of my mother has always been a connection with God. And so mothers have always been a symbol of spiritual wisdom for me, because mothers were the ones who kept the doors of the church open. Mothers were the ones who taught the children about God. And mothers were the ones who cared for everybody in their community and around them. Even the pastors sometimes, the mothers were the ones who looked out for them. So mothers have always had a real great place in my heart, and it is a beautiful memory for me. For me, the mothers that I've experienced in my life and have seen operating in my communities were like living embodiments of the Divine Mother, or the feminine expression of God. Now, I've got to be honest with you. When I originally got ready to do this message, I had completely forgot about Mother's Day. And I was already on the track of talking about prayer. But when I realized that it was Mother's Day, I'm like, how do I tie in prayer with others? But then as I began to think about it, and I really did some brainstorming and free writing when it came to what to say today. And as I started doing that free writing, I started seeing all these examples of mothers praying and different examples of the divine expression, of the divine feminine being expressed. And what I realized was that there are many different examples of the divine mother expressed in spirituality. But the one I chose to focus on today was Mary, the mother of Jesus. And yeah, I know it's not Christmas, and we don't normally talk about Mary until Christmas time. But there is no greater example of the Divine Mother than this woman here. Because, like most mothers, the story of her journey and her sacrifices were not often told, but there were many. However, there was one known as James, the brother or the stepbrother, half brother, however you want to look at it, of Jesus, who wrote and recounted the story of Mary's birth and upbringing in the book of
Colossians
James.
3:23. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as
I'm
working for
hearing music. Somebody's
Colossians
got music
3:23.
going. I got you, Jill. There we go. There we go. That's okay. Ah, the book of James was left out of the traditional Bible, but it has survived through the ages and is now contained in what is called the Apocrypha of Christianity. The book of James tells us that Mary, the representative of the Divine Mother, was born from prayers. It was the prayers of two very righteous individuals. And for her to be born into the world, they were barren, as they say. And so they prayed vehemently to be blessed with a child. And eventually, when Mary was born, she was dedicated to the Lord. Mary, according to the text, actually grew up living in the Holy of Holies and was literally fed by angels from the time she was 3 years old until she was betrothed to Joseph. Her whole life was dedicated to prayer and service to God. At one point, so much in order to reflect this statement and this understanding that her life was a service of God, she describes herself as a slave or a handmaid to the Father. Her connection with God was so strong that by the time she was 16 years old, and yes, I know in today's society, 16 sounds kind of young to be given birth, but in ancient times, 16 was a ripe age. But at 16 years old, she was blessed with a child of the Spirit of God that would change the world. And that child's name was Jesus. Now, as I looked at Mary's story, one recurring theme came throughout, and that is the theme of prayer. Again, like I said, Mary's mother, who was barren, prayed for her to be born. Her father prayed for her to be born. And once she was born, the priests and the elders of Israel prayed for her. Mary herself spent the majority of her life in prayer. So one can conclude that there is one constant practice of the divine feminine, and that is the practice of prayer. In fact, whenever I think of mother, even in the natural, I can't help but to think of the term prayer warriors, because to raise a child in this world has always and will always require prayer. I know this from personal experience because as a mother myself, were it not for the ability to pray, I may have went insane with worry about my child. You see, I was a very anxious mother. Every sniffle, every near fall, every time I watched him climb or wrestle and tussle with his friends, even learning how to ride a bike put me on edge. I think this is why I only have one child, because it wasn't that easy for me. But can you imagine what life would have been like had I not grown up and grown into a spiritual practice by the time my son became a teenager? Teenage years are probably even more challenging than the younger years because you have this delicate balance that you have to find when you get a teenager. Allowing your teenager to drive off into the night to go hang out with friends requires prayer. You have to let them grow and give them freedom, but the desire to protect them at every step never leaves you. Now, as a mother of a young Black male, with all that is going on in the world, even in our own backyards, prayer for me is my refuge and my strength. Now, I could go on and on for days with stories of mothers and their prayers, because there are many. Prayers for their marriage, prayers for their children who are lost, on drugs, sick, dying, etc. Prayers for their family. But prayer is not a tool that only women possess. Prayer is close to women because of our innate connection to the divine feminine. But the divine feminine manifests in us all. As mankind, as a whole, we are considered to be the bride of the divine bridegroom known as God. So everyone, both male and female, can participate in the divine feminine through the act of prayer. And we all should, as you will see clearly shortly. As I studied about the prayers of Mary and Mary's father and Mary's mother, I started to see an interesting secret that was uncovered. And then I looked in other stories and I saw the same thing repeating in the story of Hannah, who was one of the first mothers to be seen praying with her mouth open or speaking to God verbally. I also saw this theme in the story of King Solomon once he finally built the temple for God. This secret of prayer can be found everywhere in the Bible and in those scriptures that are not included. So one of the secret, what is the secret? The secret is humility. You see, Mary's mother, excuse me, Anna humbled herself before God according to the text. Mary's father, Joachim, he was said to have humbled himself and prayed to God. So humble seems to be the thread that ties all answered prayers together. However, being humble from the perspective that we often view it is not quite right. It's a little twisted. But there is another more powerful understanding of the word humble that reveals a powerful secret of prayer. True humility, in a spiritual sense, is more of a reflective of an act of releasing the pride and arrogance of the ego or the lower self, and thereby in effect removing all barriers to connection with the divine, letting go of our separateness and accepting the oneness of all. This is the secret of the divine feminine, as it is the expression of God that is always seeking to serve over being served, always seeking to connect and not create division. Now, this is why mothers are such a great example of the divine feminine, because the very act of procreation itself creates a bridge between the spiritual realm and the physical realm through the body's humility. Every part of her body, a mother's body, humbles itself to make room for new life, moving and contorting to allow for space as the baby grows inside of her. Have you ever wondered what happens to the mother's stomach or lungs or other organs within her as the new life takes up the space that was once occupied? I mean, really, your intestines are there, your stomach is there, your liver is there, your gallbladder and your spleen are all there. And they all have to move in order to make room for the baby. It is amazing in itself that something like the lung that shortens itself to allow for the baby to be in the womb still is able to carry enough oxygen and move enough oxygen through the body to not only take care of the mother, but to take care of the child too. This is a great example of humility from a mother. So, in essence, as we let go of doing things in our own power and by ourselves, we become like our mothers, like this mother, the divine mother. Our bodies begin to shift, our minds begin to change, we begin to function differently, and we make room within us for the divine to grow and expand. The divine feminine, as expressed or represented in the Bible, is the Holy Spirit, or as the Hebrew called it, the Shekinah. Romans 8 describes the Holy Spirit or the divine feminine as an intercessor or mediator for us. And I can tell you, I'm stumbling over the divine feminine because saying it over and over again, your tongue does get a little tired. But again, they describe this energy as the intercessor or a mediator for us. Now, this term mediator is important to this understanding because mediators are trained to bridge the gap between two parties that are not in agreement with each other. I know this because a few years ago, I was trained in the art of mediation. One secret that I learned through this training is to allow the individuals to exhaust their energy of resistance. So you don't take many breaks at all in mediation. You don't take a lunch break. You don't have scheduled breaks throughout the day. If you need to go to the restroom, one party is excused and they wait until the party returns. You also don't allow anybody to go home until an agreement has been reached, if at all possible. A mediation going on for 2 or 3 days is extremely costly. And so everybody tries to avoid that as much as possible. But all this is done because once two parties have grown weary or tired of fighting and trying to resolve the issue in their own strength, an agreement can be made. So, by calling the divine feminine a mediator, the writer is trying to communicate that this spirit, this energy, helps to get us in alignment with God and connects us when we have difficulty. It also helps us to exhaust the energy of resistance by encouraging us to recognize the limits of our own power. In essence, it humbles us. As I think of the great secret of humility, I remember the story of King Solomon. King Solomon was the first king to successfully build a temple for the divine feminine. And as we know from a metaphysical perspective, we are the temple of God. So in essence, Solomon was the first king to do the work necessary to create a place for the divine feminine to come and reside permanently. According to the text, once the temple was completed, the divine feminine filled the temple and created a bridge. And with that bridge being established, Solomon received instructions in reference as to what to do when plague or pestilence ran rapid through his kingdom. This is what God said to him. God said, if I shut up the heavens, that there be no rain, or if I command the locusts to devour the land, or if I send pestilence among my people, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Now my eyes shall be open and my ears attent unto the prayer that is made in this place. Okay, very beautiful sounding words, but oftentimes we miss exactly what it means in the beauty of the shalls and the therefores and so forth, and the minds. So I want to take a moment to put this text in plain English so that it can be fully understood and embraced. In essence, all this text is saying is that when trouble comes and sickness is throughout the land, me, you, us, need to break down the walls of division between us and God, because somehow we have created this illusion of a wall. And in doing this, we create space for the divine presence to grow within us. Then we allow that presence to change our thoughts and our approaches. We seek and gain divine wisdom and insight so that new approaches can be made. We affirm what we know to be true about the divine nature of all things, that we are one, that we are powerful, and that we have the ability to change things. And then solutions will be found. And once those solutions are found, those solutions that are based on the divine spirit and the divine connections, the heavens will be open and healing will flow in our lands. When we are in a position of allowing the divine feminine to fill this space. Now, the divine feminine gave us one key, and Christ gave us the other. The divine feminine teaches us to create the bridge between spirit and physicality through our humility. And Christ teaches us the consciousness or the mindset that we are to take on to bring healing and peace into our land. Why am I discussing this now? Well, I don't know about you, but I'm growing a little weary of COVID-19 running rapid in our cities. I'm also growing even more weary of racism and all of our children being murdered in the streets. The truth is, our old ways of fighting things are not working. We've reached a limit of ourselves as a society. I know that people around me are growing more and more frustrated because I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it, hearing about it in the news, and seeing it on social media. I know that people are growing more and more angry. I also know, as is tradition in our election year, that the closer we get to the election, the more chaos is going to be generated by the political machines. However, what I know even more than all these things is that the secret in this text, the instruction given to Solomon, is powerful enough to change these things. But we have got to do the work. We must make room within every fiber of our being for the divine nature to come forth. We must humble ourselves into the posture of prayer and be open to act on the instruction that we receive. It may be uncomfortable. It may take a while, but we are in the process of creating a new way of being, a new community, even a new society. And we must be willing to go through the pains of labor in order to give birth to the next iteration of humanity. We are being called to be the mothers of this new way of being, to be the bridge that brings it from the spiritual realm to the physical realm, to be the vessels that carry it and give birth to it, that nurture it, that prays over it until it can stand on its own. And even once it stands on its own, we watch it and continue to be available so that we can give it guidance and catch it if it starts to fall. This is the job of the mother. And it is not a role, again, that only women can take on. For we are all representative of the divine feminine. And when we, like Mary, the mother of Jesus, open ourselves to be a vessel for God, we have the ability to operate in that capacity. When we embrace the divine feminine and allow it to flow through us and in us and around us, we can change things. So what does embracing the divine feminine look like? Well, embracing the divine feminine looks like showing up whole in the world every day, all day. What does being whole mean? Being whole means preparing yourself mentally, spiritually, and physically to be open to have tough conversations, to being open to healing ourselves first and helping others to heal. The only way we can come to healing is to be strong enough to take responsibility for our own actions and our own arid way of thinking. Humility, i.e., recognizing that the way we think or our way of being may not necessarily be right or the only way of being, creates space for the bridge to be built. The more open we become, the more the divine feminine allows the expression of her divine gifts to flow through us. And as this happens, the more we will see the benefit in that expression. Now, okay, I'll be honest with you, that showing up whole every day, all day is a little tough. People are not sure how to receive your openness, your compassionate, or even your unconditional love. Trust me, you will be rejected at times. People won't try as hard to understand you as you try to understand them. This is why the practice of prayer and meditation is so important. There will always be something or someone that will cause pain in your life or even cause mistakes to be made that need to be corrected. So the healing has to be perpetual. You must, like Solomon, keep your temple filled with the energy of the divine so that compassion doesn't cease, so that love doesn't cease. Now, I want you to remember that the divine gifts come from the Holy Spirit or the divine feminine. And those gifts are wisdom, healing, creating miracles, discernment, prophecy, and even the ability to speak in a way that speaks to a person's spirit and bridges the gap between you and others. These are all manifestations of the divine spirit and all things that we need in order to help us overcome racism, to help us slow the spread of coronavirus, and even find solutions for our financial and political systems. These are the gifts of the divine. This is the power that lies within us and is meant to be expressed through us. Let us expand this power and energy and allow it to grow within us and allow it to live throughout the earth. Let us be the mothers and open our bodies to give birth to the new way of being. Now let's take a moment to allow that expansion to happen. I want you to close your eyes and open your heart. And as you close your eyes, I want you to take a deep breath in and begin to open up your heart. My heart is open. I'm willing to receive. If you feel any resistance, I want you to release it now as you exhale your breath. Let go of all the past hurts. Let go of all the failed attempts at love. Let go of all the anger and frustration from the experiences of the past. Now breathe in. And as you breathe in, imagine yourself receiving compassion and love for yourself. Allow that love to grow warmer and warmer in your heart. As we are in this space of growing this love, I ask and I encourage you to invoke the power of the divine spirit within you as I invoke the power within me. And together we allow that power to grow and expand. In this moment, in this time, simply become conscious of your own breathing. And as we become conscious of our own breathing, we recognize and affirm that with every breath, the divine spirit is expanding in us. In this moment, right now, we are receiving insights. We are receiving healing. We receive miracles and wisdom right now. And as we move from this place, we offer them as gifts to the world. We recognize that as we give, we also receive. And we are grateful for the manifestation of these gifts in our lives and in our world. We allow this gift to expand now. We let it be so, and so it is. On this day, I am again grateful for the mothers that have appeared in my life, the many different forms of mother, in my physical mother, in the mothers that I have encountered on the street, in the mothers who have been in my workforce, in the mothers who I've just met in my travels. But most of all, that divine expression of motherhood, I am so grateful for, the divine feminine that lives within all of us. And I'm so grateful that I'm surrounded by a group of people who is aware enough and conscious enough to know that we've got to allow this divine expression to become a true reality in the world around us. And so it is. All right. Well, that is all I have for the day. And I know, but I'm going to do it anyhow, that I don't need to remind you guys of our giving, because we are a giving group. We are a loving and a kind group. And giving is just a part of who we are. And so me reminding you that we that we're giving, and this is a moment to affirm our giving, is like reminding you to breathe because that is who you are. You are gifts and you are givers in and of the same. And so I just want to take a moment to thank you for your gifts and for your giving, and to affirm through the affirmation of giving what we know to be true, that divine love through me and you blesses and multiplies all that we have, all that we give, all that we receive, and all that we are. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Now it's time for the announcements. And I'm just going to give a few reminders that Monday is our day to do our lesson in the Kabbalion. It has been a lot of fun going through this, and it's been a little interesting study. But I encourage you guys to come out and join us for our study of the Kabbalion. That's Mondays at 6:30 on our Zoom link, if you hadn't figured that out already. And then come Wednesday, we are going to shift and transform, remember that study, into a whole new study known as the Universal Christ. And my own honored mother will be taking on that teaching. Yay! That means I get a break. Yay!
Come back, Gloria.
Yes. You want to take a minute to tell us a little bit about the Universal Christ? Unmute yourself.
No.
She wants it to be a surprise.
Right.
Be a surprise. The only thing that I will say to you concerning this teaching is I heard this man on the Oprah show that comes on Sunday. And just happened that Sunday I was home and I heard him, and I was so caught up in what he was saying till I told Letitia that I wanted the book. And so I began to read the book, and a lot of the things that I had down on the inside of me, but was not able to teach in my denominational teaching, it just began to just come out. They just began to come out of me and stir me to want to read it. And when Letitia asked me to teach it, I thought, okay, you know, so this is going to be a learning process for all of us. And the one thing that I like is that I was able to find the study guide. And it's going to be a great help because it does not require that we read the whole book. It can bring you into a knowledge of what he was saying without having read the whole book. And so we're going to do the part that's called sharing. And I think you're going to like it because, and be ready because it involves everybody. And between tonight and tomorrow, the study line will be online where you can get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to post it where you can get it. And I hope you enjoy it. You know, it'll be a lot of sharing that will be done in this study. There is no right nor wrong, or I got all the information. That's just not the way it's going to be. But I think you're going to love it.
Yeah.
I got a
I
question.
will be sending out the study guide sometime between now and tomorrow when she gets it to me. Or if I find it.
How many weeks is it?
Mom?
It's a few.
To be determined.
Right.
Okay, I was just because I wanted to update the page and I wanted to put it on there.
Okay,
Yeah,
because I didn't even do it in weeks. I'll try to have that information for you later on today.
Okay,
Yeah, because the way they got it set up, it's like, it's not short.
okay,
So let's just
That's
say
okay.
that it's, for the advertising purposes, it will be 4 weeks at least. And if we
Okay.
need to expand it and change it online, this is why Stacy is asking. She's handling our social media.
Like she asked it, but don't say 4 weeks.
No.
Yeah.
Say 8.
That's what I was thinking, 8
Okay.
weeks at least.
Okay, all right.
I don't want anybody to think this is a short study because it's not.
Okay.
All right, 8 weeks, 8 weeks. If we go longer, we go longer.
At least 8.
Yeah. Because you know how we start talking and don't finish the chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this might happen because there's a lot of interaction
Mm.
in the study guide.
Yeah, good deal, good deal. I also want you guys to hold a space for Kim's father. He's been in the hospital for the past few days and is coming. Praise God. Praise God. But Kim is flying to Atlanta, so hold a space for a safe flight in your hearts for her,
Mhm.
and keep in your prayer for your father to grow strong.
Yeah. Also for your sister today.
And for my
Today.
sister. Kim, do you want to take a moment to say something?
No, but thank you for bringing that up. I'm excited to see my dad. I haven't seen my parents since last July. He seems to be recovering, but everything in me says it's time to go. It's time to go spend time with them
Okay.
while I have the opportunity. So I definitely thank you guys for your prayers and thoughts, for safe travels, physically safe travels, no COVID and all those things.
Oh, that's right.
The mask, kid.
I will have a mask on. My flight looks to be like there's only 1 or 2 other people on the flight. I'm flying into Charlotte actually, and then driving the rest because they canceled some.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not crowded, and I'm prepared, and I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
You'll be physically closer to us.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Look, y'all keep talking about watermelon. I might make a detour. I try to eat my body weight in watermelon every time I come down there. Until
She does. I can attest to that. And then hold space for my sister, like my mother said. Like I told you guys in the beginning, Mother's Day is challenging for some. And this week, my sister lost her second child. She was born premature,
Oh.
and it's been a couple years now. But my sister, she doesn't realize it yet, but she is a warrior. She actually held her child as her child took her last breath.
Mm.
And that is something that,
It's unbelievable.
yeah. And so every year around this time is quite tough.
Very hard.
So keep her in your prayers, in your thoughts, as she goes through her healing process. Okay.
Okay.
Well, happy Mother's Day to everyone. Anybody else have anything else they want to add? Look like you were getting ready to say something, Bertha. Well, good deal, good deal. I hope you enjoy your children, for all of those who are having visitors, and get the phone calls and all the love that you deserve on this day.
Yes.
Blessings to you all.
Happy
Right.
Mother's Day, everyone.
Good day, everybody.
Mhm.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you tomorrow.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
we will.
Now you can say it.
Oh.
Happy Mother's Day, Tish.
Thank you, Daddy.
Happy Mother's Day, Kim. She's
He's already off.
Take care of yourself, baby.
All right. Y'all have a good one. I'll call you soon.
Okay.